Welcome back to 100 Hours in Terraria Hardcore, and of course we're playing on Master Mode. If you haven't seen the previous videos, welcome to the 100 Hours in Hardcore challenge, where different stages of Terraria's progression are locked behind 10-hour increments. In the last 10 hours, I could beat Skeletron and Deerclops, and now I am allowed to fight the Wall of Fresh and Queen Slime, otherwise I can make no other form of progression. These 10 hours are going to be quite interesting, I think, mostly because I am terrified of hard mode. There's way too much that can kill me. I need to make the Hell Bridge and fight the Wall of Fresh, and part of me is not certain I will survive very long in hard mode, and so when I went to do this, I went to spend a lot more time building this bridge than I normally would, so that way I could be playing it as safely as possible. That way I'd hopefully survive long enough for this to be a full episode. And so, in an abundance of caution, and wanting to burn plenty of time, I decided to make a hell bridge across the entire expanse of the underworld. I had over 4,000 platforms and was able to gather more along the way, so I thought that might be enough, but I really underestimated just how big a large world really is. These things are massive, and when it's all one biome, your sense of distance is all out of whack, which is something I never really thought of before, how this single biome nature of the underworld makes it much more difficult to tell just how far you've traveled. You can make an educated guess based on when the obsidian brick houses stop appearing, and eventually you find the, I don't know what the sub-biome is called, but you find it and know you're near the end. And so it's only now that I realized, after placing platforms from the center of the map all the way to one side, that I've placed platforms across half the world, and how I can't even imagine doing that on the surface. It just takes so long, but here we are doing it in the underworld. There weren't too many of them, but there were voodoo doll demons, and those have to be one of the scariest enemies in hardcore, just because if that doll drops into the lava, then you're stuck in a kill or be killed battle with the Wall of Fresh, and nobody needs that much stress in their life. Thankfully, this never happened, and even though encountering these voodoo doll demons is stressful, it's not nearly as bad now that the wall is actually unlocked in progression. Being in the underworld in earlier sections where I couldn't fight the wall made them 10 more times stressful, especially since I don't want to save an exit to avoid a fight if I can help it. Now, I know I said I was planning on making a hell bridge across the entirety of the underworld, but I got tired of placing platforms and figured half the world was more than acceptable. I did build out a little bit to the left side, but after placing these platforms for an hour, I figured it'd be long enough, and after grabbing every single potion that could be helpful in any way, I readied myself for the fight against the Wall of Fresh. Hour in to 30 to 40, and here we are, about to fight the Wall of Fresh. After what happened in the last hardcore run, I feel way more nervous about this than I should. We have so many potions. This should be easy. It should be fine. I didn't get a Hellwing bow. I should do that. I'm not. Maybe it's not that. I'm just nervous at the wall. But really nervous too about hard mode. It's beginning of hard mode, and I'm not going to be able to break any of the altars. Should be a lot of fishing, which in theory will be safe, but you never know. We're entering into dangerous territory here very soon. Here we go. Wow, I need to remove the texture pack to the Inferno potion. This I can't see a darned thing. Oh, that hurt a lot. Okay, well we did good. We did good right there. Back away, demon. Back away. Alright, we go back to melee. Wow. This might be the fastest I've ever killed the wall. And there we go. Hard mode, here we come. That was actually the most I had ever been able to use the Knight's Edge, and perhaps the fastest I've ever killed the Wall of Fresh on tier. Maybe it's because I don't typically use this many potions, or I'm particularly prepared, but when you're able to hug the wall for a prolonged period of time, the Knight's Edge really does shred this thing. But that brings us to the heart-stopping hard mode. First things first, I shimmered the Sorcerer emblem from the wall into the Warrior's emblem. I was going to go straight to fishing at the cavern fishing pool I had prepared earlier, but it always bugs me when I don't know where the Hollow and New Crimson are in hard mode, so I decided to instead find those, and the Hollow is a lot closer than I would have liked, but it doesn't spread nearly as much as the Crimson, so I suppose I'd rather have that there than the Crimson. I did start fishing in the cavern fishing hole, but then I remembered I needed prismite for health force potions, and I have this really handy fishing hole that just so happens to have been hollowed. I wasn't sure if prismite could be fished on the surface, but after the very first line, I caught a prismite, so I guess all the fishing will take place here now. I need prismite, hard mode ores, and 2 sundials, so we'll be here for a while. Oh, wait. Oh, I'm a genius. I'm a genius building these houses over here. They're going to reduce the spawn rate even more. Like 0, let's go. This is a safe place. There were literally 2 enemies spawning while I fished, with maybe an exception every few minutes. It's perfect. I can fish in peace without worrying about hard mode enemies killing me, while also gearing up and getting the potions I need. The fishing session went pretty well, giving me enough Kobold for full armor, which is one thing I sort of like about fishing for these armors. You actually use the armor sets that aren't adamantite or titanium. The 2 lower tier armors are often just skipped in normal runs, so doing this in hard mode with fishing being my only option makes it so I just take whatever I can get, and I kind of enjoy that. I was going to get back to fishing, but I noticed the Goblin Tinkerer in the house, and he shouldn't be there. He should be in the Tundra. So I finally had a Pylon in the Tundra. Finally had one, and what happens? It gets crimson. Yeah, sure. Why not? Oh, look at that. Sky Island is crimson too. This is just wonderful. Nothing I can do about that now, I guess, so I return to fishing. Before we continue, if you've been enjoying the video, be sure to subscribe. At the end of the year, I'll be firing 1 mini nuke 2 from this rocket launcher at year's end for every subscriber I have. So if you want to claim your mini nuke 2 and support long-form challenges like this, consider subscribing.
What do you do with a drunken sailor? What do you do with a drunken sailor? What do you do with a drunken sailor early in the morning? What do you do with a drunken sailor? What do you do on a golf cart sailor? What do you do on a golf cart sailor early in the morning?
I don't know. When it ended, I had a decent amount of adamantite, and as I was checking things out, I saw that I could craft adamantite gear and was really confused because I thought you needed an adamantite forge, but then I realized you only need the forge to turn the ore into bars, so I could potentially skip over the forge entirely. But I also remembered you can shimmer titanium into adamantite, but it transmutes into ore, not bars, so I'll have the forge after all. I thought I'd take a break from fishing because I'd done so much of that, and I checked out the mob farm I'd made in the last 10 hours to see if it's effective, and sure enough, it's not. Oh well, I have plenty of time to farm like a normal person. Next item on the bucket list was finding where the underground hollow and crimson are. The hollow was easy enough with it being down the elevator. I got a little sidetracked mining crystal shards and fighting chaos elementals, but being down here reminded me that it only takes 3 shots from most of these enemies to kill me, and that's dumb. I sought our underground crimson, which was much farther away, and I fled immediately upon finding it. I'm too afraid of Ichor stickers killing me in an instant. I went to fish again, but realized the wizard had spawned in the house next to the fishing hole and was curious if he was selling the Pylon. You are. Isn't that nice? Look at that. Make a build, you know, just for the heck of it, and now it's Pylon. But granted, it's a very short. Like, I have all of these Pylon. I can't go to the left. I can't go to the left anywhere. It sucks. So now I got Pylons all over the place on the right side of the world, but I can't go anywhere on the left side, and that's just wonderful. I'll have to set up a teleportation system sometime. And so I did fish for many more crates. Don't give me no stinking bass. Nobody wants no stinking bass. Oh. When I was done, turns out it's a full moon and werewolves are spawning, so I killed them for a bit to put a dent into the eventual banner I'll want for them, and then I shimmered my extra orichalcum into mithril to make full mithril armor, so we're doing pretty good, I think. But I need another break from fishing, so I went to the hollow away from the fishing hole, placed a water candle, and drank a luck potion and farmed for unicorns as much as I could, but only 6 of them spawned. I swear these things only spawn in heaps or not at all, and I guess I was stuck with pretty much not at all. I did get a few drops though, and that got me a little bit closer to an Onk shield. And now that we've spent plenty of time in the hollow, I wanted to find a nice open area to farm enemies in the underground crimson. Bloody Gross, or Gross as I call them, are not much of a threat, but Ichor sticker shots are too fast and hard to predict while also doing stupidly high damage and reducing your defense. At the same time though, I'm going to want what the Ichor stickers drop. There's also herplings down here and those can be hard to deal with. Basically everything down here is a killing machine and I have to play extraordinarily carefully as I collect Souls of Knights, Ichor, and farm for vitamins. Being down here did teach me an appreciation for the Darklands. There were actually a few situations that felt more useful than the Night's Edge. Oh, and I did get the Crystal Serpent, forgot to mention that. I do also want Cursed Flames as the Dart Pistol is a go-to weapon for me in early hard mode, and Cursed Darts are much more effective than Ichor ones in my opinion, but making an Artificial Corruption would require that I survive.
Oh! I didn't even see that. Okay.
I calmed my nerves with fishing, where I could pay attention to things like background elements in the game.
Unicorn, Pegasus. Look at him. Look at him go.
I want that as a mount. I want a Pegasus. What if you could combine the Pylon, the winged slime mount with the unicorn mount? Maybe that is what you would create, a Pegasus. I want it. Relogic, do it. I command the...
It started to rain as my fishing potions were wrapping up, and it occurs to me that the rain here means that there will be a blizzard in the tundra, and so I could kill an ice golem for an ice feather. It's not guaranteed, but there's a chance, and wolves also have a chance of dropping the Lilith's necklace. I'll explain the necklace more if I get my hands on it, but I actually think it's pretty good. The only problem is, there's a blood moon. Enemies may now be too strong, but I can't pass up this opportunity to farm ice golems. Who knows when it might rain again? So I braved a trip to the tundra using my handy minecart track, and it didn't take long for a golem to spawn.
Ouch. Super careful now, super careful. So many enemies. Right, hide here for a second. We can get some enemies to drop down here. Don't tell me the ice golem despawned. You better not have despawned. Oh, he definitely despawned. Holy cow, what is this frost debuff?
I survived the blood moon and the blizzard continued into the day.
Oh, the rain song. Let's not play that as we have a ice golem on our...
This time, the other enemies didn't make killing the golem stupidly difficult, and after a few shots I realized I was doing next to no damage, so this could turn into a real long fight, but then I found the perfect little perch after the golem got stuck behind a small incline, and from there I was able to farm the thing without a care in the world, and sure enough, he dropped a lovely, lovely ice feather. This just means I need Souls of Flight. Getting wyverns to spawn is the only real issue when it comes to these things. Fighting wyverns, though, is just about as easy as you make them. If you don't already know, simply standing still slightly to the right or to the left of them and then dashing towards, I guess, into them and not away from them, and these things become really easy.
20. 40. Oh, yo, shoot.
The wyvern soon died and I got ice wings. I considered removing the bundle of balloons, but settled on dropping the honey drip spark necklace. It's too bad I'll lose some of the damage, but my mobility is unmatched. And of course, the best place to take full advantage of this new mobility is by heading into the caves to farm Souls of Knights. I want souls primarily to craft dart keys so I can summon crimson mimics and get the dart pistol I love so much. At the same time, I wanted banners to make this little farming area much safer. Maybe it's a little redundant farming for banners to make a place safer when I don't know if I'll return to it, but I suspect that I'll need more souls at one time or another, or maybe I'll farm the Crimson Key here sometime. No telling when you'll get awful luck and maybe I'll need a bunch of Dart Keys. The thing with Dart Keys too is that it's by far the best way to farm biomimics since you can spawn them wherever you want rather than dealing with natural spawns in cramped spaces.
Oh. I saw that mimic and nope.
I wrapped up farming and figured I should set up a teleporter to the Tundra since the Pylon there is no longer usable. I mined the meteor lodged in the snow because why not, and then farmed dark mummies in the next door Crimson Desert for enough dark shards to craft an Onyx Blaster. I am also doing the occasional fishing quest, and there's one called an Ichor fish that I've never seen before, and I just love how it looks. Might be my new favorite fish in Terraria. Then I realized the hollow had quickly spread through the desert, and I set up sunflowers on either side of the crimson and hollow to hopefully limit the spread. I'm still not confident I could safely blow up a hole in the world that would separate them off, so I'll just have to live with it for now and see what I can do to prevent it. And so this brings me to the Crimson and Hollowed Mimic farming. The weapons from these enemies are generally good for early hard mode, but they are also so incredibly dangerous. I can't count the number of times they've made my heart skip a beat during hardcore runs, and considering how few I've done, that's saying something. Still probably one of the most feared enemies for me. The first one I killed gave me the dart pistol, so that's really nice, and from there I got a tendon hook and a flying knife. I can fight more, but after some close calls, I decided it was time to grind for adamantite armor, and of course, I can only do that with another long fishing session. I swear, you can fish for hours and not get a single titanium or adamantite bar, but I did get enough to add to the small stash I had on hand to craft a full set of armor, at which point I decided to farm for more souls a night. I have enough for keys, but I want to get more acclimated to my new capabilities, plus I still need several drops from these enemies for the Yonk shield. I killed a few more Crimson Mimics, primarily after Flesh Knuckles, and was gifted one. I figured Souls of Light would also be good to have on hand, and I might make some more light keys, although I don't really need anything the Hollowed Mimics drop. We'll just see how we feel after a bit of farming. Throw out a Discord would also be cool, but I never use it even when I have it. Kinda overrated if you ask me. And now, I have a dart pistol, and I mentioned how cursed darts are far superior to Ichor ones. In order to get cursed flames though, I need a corruption, which of course doesn't spawn naturally when I have a Crimson world. The only way to get them is to purchase corrupt seeds from the Dryad, and she won't sell those without an Ectomist. But an Ectomist requires tombstones, and how do you get those in hardcore? You can't exactly die. Well, as it turns out, in hardcore, the NPCs will actually drop tombstones when they die, but since I've made this box of mine, they haven't really died hardly at all, and I haven't been able to collect tombstones, so I had to do the unthinkable.
Had to be done. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. It had to be done.
But that let me get a few seeds and plant them. Now I just have to wait for the spread. And what better way to wait for that than to farm for blessed apples? The unicorn is probably my favorite mount in the game due to its high speed. It's a go-to mount for me in most of my serious runs. It can take a while to farm, but it's fast enough to keep safe distance from the Moonlord while also not being so fast that he teleports to your position all the time. The unicorn is also just great against the mechs, but Moonlord is usually where I find it most useful, or at least that's what I think of. The farming session got me nothing, and it turned to night, so I farmed for more Onk accessories in the Underground Crimson because gastropods are scary. I did end up returning to the Hollow to farm before the night ended, and I guess the unicorns like coming out at night because they were all over the place and one dropped a blessed apple for me. At this point, I had also farmed enough accessories for the Onk shield and had gotten a Philosopher's Stone from a Mimic earlier, which I upgraded to the Charm of Myths, which I used to replace the Warrior's Emblem. At this point, I have insane survivability and mobility accessories. Hardly anything damage-wise, well, nothing really, but surviving is all that matters in hardcore. Now, the corruption area I had made earlier wasn't really spreading, so I purchased more corrupt seeds. Not sure why I didn't just do that before, and after placing a bunch of dirt and planting the seeds, I had my very own isolated slice of underground corruption in which to farm for a few lovely cursed flames. It also occurred to me, Ebon Koi would be a great fish to have for making wrath potions and getting that extra damage, so I made a little fishing hole down there as well. Having this whole area is nice, but it also has the unforeseen but entirely predictable side effect of allowing corrupt mimics to spawn. On the bright side, I built this whole place like an arena, so I was able to do circles around it until the mimic died. I could have gone home rather than challenging this thing in a suboptimal environment, but this is the only place I can get these mimics, and I prefer the dart rifle over the pistol, not for anything obvious like stats or some such nonsense, but because it looks cooler. Unfortunately, the mimic dropped the chain guillotine, which is actually sort of a good melee weapon. It does more damage than the Knight's Edge for sure, I just have to aim it better. I started using it, but the whole time I'm considering switching back to the Knight's Edge since its coverage is very useful. I ended up gathering 100 cursed flames before leaving, and I figured I'd do some more chill things like fishing quests, and it's a cool fishing quest in the Sky Lakes this time.
Oh, woo! That could have killed me. Alright, we're not fishing in the Sky Lakes, that ain't.
Nope. Wyverns. Why must they always spawn at the single worst times? Fishing in hard mode hardcore is really terrifying, what with the armor's low defense, the angler's, armor. So I am definitely not going back to fishing in the skies from here on out. So instead of that, I got to work on finally fighting the other boss unlocked these 10 hours, the Queen Slime. I honestly think Queen Slime is one of the hardest bosses when scaled to progression or whatever. She just shoots so many projectiles and her slime companions can quickly get out of hand. But I am sort of trying to beat every boss's hardcore run, and so I set up the arena and slept the night away. No way I'm fighting Queen Slime when it's hard to see and gastropods might be roaming around, and when day came, I summoned Queen Slime.
There she is. Immediately got hit. Not great. There we go. Whoop. I'm glad that this thing does hellfire. It's so nice. There we go. Cleared a bunch of them right there. That's nice. Would have been nice to get cursed bullets, but oop. I feel like I would much rather. Okay, I'm not taking as much damage as I thought I would be, so that's good at least. Alright. Now you'll be slightly easier to hit consistently. Gotta watch your minions, not get hit by those too often. Okay, let's use these to kill some of the minions. Okay. Okay, we're doing it. We're doing well. Hopefully she'll drop the blade staff on the first kill. And then those minions will help quite a bit with fighting her a second time. Frogs are fine, but not exactly great. I'm actually amazed when I run out of movement. I have so much. There we go.
That was a good battle, and I'm obsessed with getting full use out of my potions, but you see, I only wanted the blade staff. I don't need anything else. I have no reason to fight Queen Slime again. And so of course, I summon her again because I was more focused on using my potions to their max, and that battle actually went considerably worse. I never fell below half health, which is good, but it was definitely a very unnecessary risk. My potions even ran out near the end, and she was starting to deal some real damage that could have killed me pretty quickly. I'd used a lot of crystal darts at this point, and so I grabbed a bit more crystal shards to restock, and then I figured it might be a good idea to farm for the ice tortoise shell accessory thing. It's great for defense and can be combined with the paladin shield later. The only problem is that the Tundra has been crimsoned.
Nope. Nope, nope, nope.
And so, not wanting to risk death and having run out of ideas, I literally spent an hour fishing for a second sundial, but never got one. That hour of fishing did make me want to return to the Tundra though, and I did get, well, a drop of some sort.
Oh, wait, what? Handbat? What's a handbat? 'Tis a weapon, oh pig butts.
I played with it and got myself close to death for my trouble. You really shouldn't mess around and experiment in hardcore. I spent another half hour fishing for a second sundial, but still had no luck, and farmed in the underground hard mode jungle for banners. Hard mode jungle is just straight up terrifying, so I have been largely avoiding it, but having banners for the enemies in the Plantera arena at least I figured would be a good idea. Just had to be ultra careful, especially if tortoises flying from off the screen. I then spent yet another 20 minutes fishing for a second sundial. I checked the odds for finding one of these in crates, and I'll just say I've had extraordinarily bad luck with this thing, but hey, determination won out.
Oh, finally! Oh, finally! At last! I got the second enchanted dial!
I shimmered the thing to a moon dial, so now I can skip to the night instead of the day, and having two sundials to work with is really handy. Never know when you might need one. Coming off of that fishing high, I went to the next one in the corruption to fish for Ebenkoi. But something odd started happening.
Lots of purple cloverfish. Why do I have 4 purple cloverfish?
And I continued fishing up purple cloverfish after purple cloverfish.
Purple? What's in the purple cloverfish? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 purple clubberfish.
I memorialized this achievement by hanging every single purple clubberfish over the fishing spot at my home. Are these things really that common, or did I just get some weird RNG? I returned to farming in the jungle for sweet, sweet banners, and since the marble biome is nearby, I am also getting a bunch of Medusas to spawn.
Hey, I got a pocket mirror from a Medusa. I've never gotten that before. I always have to shimmer for it. That's kind of fun. Got a Medusa head and another pocket mirror. How does this thing work? Does anybody use this thing, like, unironically?
And as my time started to roll down, finishing 40 hours of hardcore in master mode, I went to the ocean to farm for a pirate map. I'm thinking I might not break any altars at all in the next 10 hours, so pirates won't spawn naturally, but I still think I should fight the pirates at some point. Gotta conquer everything, right? Does that mean I'll fight the moons? Well, they were given their own 10-hour segment, but we'll see when we get there. The final hours was spent playing in the rain in the hopes of getting a Nimbus Rod from the Cloud guys, but they refused to drop one, and I managed to get most of the banners for jungle enemies, just missing the Tortoise and Trapper ones. But that's hours 31 through 40 of 100 hours in hardcore, and I can still hardly believe that I'm not even halfway done, and at the same time, I can't believe I'm still alive. I do feel pretty confident in my ability to kill the mechs, but mining chlorophyte could actually be dangerous, as I might end up exploring and could run into explosive traps, and I'll be away from the banners I'd collected, so enemies will do a lot more damage. It shouldn't be an issue, you know, probably, but we'll see in the next installment, which will appear right here when it releases, and you can check out the rest of the series right below it.